This lecture is on section 30-4, the excretory system. You'll want to find this handout because it's kind of a skeleton of the things that you want to write down, and I will refer to it as I help you record your answers. First, it's the science joke. And this one is really good because it ties into our unit. Why did Tigger look in the toilet? To find poo. Okay, you got to admit that's the best one so far. All right, think about this. It's a hot day and you gulp down water. As you drink, you begin to wonder, where is all that water going? Will it just dilute your blood? Or is something in your body making sure that everything stays in balance? Well, since we talked about the word homeostasis in the fall, my guess is you know that things are staying in balance. So our lecture today is about how does the body keep these things in balance. So our goals are to understand the principal role or structures in the excretory system, that your excretory system includes organs other than your urinary tract. And so in a very quick way, we'll look at them. And then how does your kidney work? Because that's kind of the main excretory organ that you have. So on your sheet where it says excretion, if you would write this down, excretion is the process by which metabolic wastes are eliminated to maintain homeostasis. Metabolic waste is fancy science word for all the reactions that happen in your body. So just like cars make pollution and things that give off after the reaction, you too make waste products that your body has to get rid of. So we're going to look at the four that you see on your list: skin, lungs, liver, and kidney. And first we'll talk about skin. Now you don't need to write down every word that's on this slide. You want to learn as a note taker to figure out what's the shortest number of words I can write to understand what was said and understand it later. So your skin basically excretes excess water, salts, and a little bit of urea. And we'll talk about what urea is in a second. So sweat in very small amounts, because you don't lose a lot of stuff that way, helps to eliminate some wastes. And sweat also has the function of helping your body cool. So sweating isn't an indication that you have excess things to get rid of. It's an indication that your body's hot. You know there's some salt in there if you've sweated a lot and then it dries and you see a little white residue. That tells you there was salt in your sweat. Your lungs also help to get rid of a waste product, specifically carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is a byproduct of cellular respiration, as we remember from the fall. The cellular respiration reaction is oxygen plus glucose yields you carbon dioxide and water. Don't write that down. But that explains where the water and the carbon dioxide that are excreted as you breathe out, where they come from. We know there's water vapor in the winter because we see it on the cold days. Your liver is also a organ that functions with the breakdown and elimination of waste. Your liver's main job is to convert nitrogen waste products that your body makes by breaking down protein into a less toxic substance called urea. Your kidneys will then filter out the urea, and that's where kind of the word urine comes from. So again, your liver's job is simply to take nitrogen waste from the protein breakdown and convert it into urea so your kidneys can filter it out. Now we come to your kidneys. Your kidneys, as you know, are two organs that sit kind of in your lower back, one on the left and hopefully one on the right. Their job is to remove excess things from your blood. Underline from your blood, because that's where they're getting those waste products from. Things like water, urea, waste, salt, sodium, a lot of the ions that are in your body. Now, this chapter talks about levels of organization: cells, tissue, organ systems. So the organ system is your urinary tract. The organ in this case is your kidney. So the other organs in your urinary system would include your ureters. Their job is to transport urine from the kidneys to the bladder. So you see them going from here and from here. Your urinary bladder holds the urine until it is ready to be released. And then the urethra would be the tube that takes urine outside the body. Now we're going to look at how the kidney functions in some pretty good detail. So to begin with, we want to know, again, I think we've already written this down, that the kidneys remove urea, excess water, minerals, and other waste products from the blood. That clean blood then leaves the kidney through the renal vein and returns to circulation. And so we'll get to that here in a minute. So what you see in the picture, this is a cross-section of a kidney, and then this is the cross-sections of a teeny little piece of the kidney called the nephron. So this is going to be complicated. Here we go. All right, on your little chart, start where it says body, and then you see blood and an arrow to a blank. Please write renal artery in that blank. So the blood comes from the body into the kidney through the renal artery. And you'll see the renal artery right up here in the red. And that simply means to bring the blood in. The nephron is the filtering unit of the kidney, and you have millions of those. So way on the right, where there's a little blank after the bracket, it says filtering unit of the kidney. Please write nephron. And then we're going to see that the nephron is made of a couple of different parts. So you see the word filtration in a little box, and then I want you to write in the word glomerulus. So filtration mainly takes place in the glomerulus. And what that is, it's a small bundle of capillaries that are encased or surrounded by Bowman's capsule. And you can see that word on your sheet. And what's happening there is things are then leaving the blood and becoming part of the liquid that the kidneys are producing. So as you go from the box, we have glomerulus in there. Filtrate flows into Bowman's capsule. We have that in there. And then where the word filtrate is, if over on the left, you want to write this contains water, urea, glucose, salts, amino acids, and some vitamins. It contains anything that is small enough to filter out of the blood into the filtrate. So some things are too big. Protein and red blood cells, white blood cells should be too big to pass through those capillary walls. And that's good. You don't want to be peeing out your blood cells, and you don't want to be peeing out protein. So if those things show up in a urinary sample, that's an indication that the kidney may not be functioning correctly. So the filtrate is all the stuff that initially diffuses out of the blood capillaries while it's inside Bowman's capsule. Your body filters out a whole bunch of stuff, and then it reabsorbs most of that. So you'll see the word reabsorption on your chart, and to the right you want to write the word tubules. So this is all the filtrate that was in that nephron, and now it takes a little trip through all these tubes. And it's at that point the body decides what things it might want to reabsorb and keep. So you can see that water can move in and out of here, salt can move in and out of here. So you're basically, your body returns to, the kidney recaptures and returns to the body about 99% of what it filters out. So this gives it very precise way to maintain levels in your body. We'll talk a lot about this if you take human anatomy. For now, what I want you to know is that reabsorption is how we get molecules back to the blood. So they are in the filtrate, they diffuse out of the filtrate, and then are reabsorbed by blood vessels. So again, nearly all the material removed from the blood at Bowman's capsules makes its way back into the blood as it flows through these tubules. And then we have excretion as kind of the third part of the excretory process. And so the stuff that's left, all the stuff that's gone through these tubules and not been reabsorbed is going to exit the kidney through a collecting duct. So if you would write collection tube next to the word excretion to the right in that blank, that's the next place that it goes. And I guess if you want a definition of urine, urine is simply all the stuff that doesn't get reabsorbed that then exits right over here. So under collection tube, then the arrow leads to a blank. Please write ureter. Again, we defined those earlier. They're the tubes that bring the urine from the kidney to the bladder. Bladder's written in there for you, and then if under the arrow you'd write urethra, because that's how the urine gets out of the body. Now you're wondering, how come it's just not dripping out all day? Basically, there's two sphincters. There's a little sphincter on the top, and then there's one down here. When your body says, hey, I think it's time for you to go to the bathroom, this sphincter on the top opens a little, and a little drip of urine starts to go down there. You respond by going, whoa, I don't want to pee now. And this sphincter at the bottom closes and stays closed so that urine doesn't go out. Then when you decide to go to the bathroom, you have voluntary control over this sphincter, and you release it, and the urine exits the body. All right, looking back at the rest of your chart then, you would like to put renal vein in the arrow under reabsorption. So the blood that recollects what's left the filtrate goes through the renal vein back to your blood, and in the box between blood and blood, please put your body. So that blood now circulates around your body, comes back to the kidney, gets filtered again, goes back through your body and through filtered again. And then let's define the three words that are on the bottom. So filtration, here we're on the left, is material moving from the blood out of the blood into the filtrate. So blood to filtrate. Reabsorption then is filtrate returning back to the blood. So it's all that stuff that's reabsorbed. And then excretion is simply eliminating the urine from the body. All right, a couple of disorders, and you can write these, I guess, on another piece of paper or any little space that you have. Kidney stones are basically a little blockage that happens when atoms or ions bond together. So what does that mean? If you're not drinking enough water, some of these little ions come out of solution and they kind of clamp together. And then that stone gets stuck. And then obviously the urine can't leave anymore because the kidney stone is in the way. So the kidney stone then has to eventually be passed through the ureters, through the bladder, and the urethra. And that's pretty painful because that's not meant to have anything that large in there. And then our last slide is simply about damage to kidneys. High blood pressure and diabetes cause most cases of kidney damage in the U.S. And in both of those cases, in different ways, but that's not important at this point, you damage these tiny vessels that are in the glomerulus. And since that's where the filtering happens, if they're not working properly, the blood doesn't get filtered properly, and toxins or poisonous things or molecules build up at abnormal levels. So the treatment option there are dialysis, where basically your blood goes out of your body through a machine that through filtration takes those toxins out, returns your cleaner blood to your body. And then transplant would be another option. So it's curious, and I didn't know this till recently, that they have the option when they transplant a kidney to keep the other two in here. So if this one's working at 40% and this one's working at 30%, at least they're helping a little. So rather than eliminating them, we simply add additional little vessels so that you actually have, potentially 3 kidneys functioning. And that may not be the case all the time, but at least it's an option. So this is the process of how your body produces basically urine to excrete and other ways it eliminates waste.